Was that for you? It was adrenaline fueled for us to watch.
Yes, it was. I think apart from the two managers, everybody probably enjoyed that game. It was never boring. It was always intense. You always expected something to happen, and this is what football should be like. But this is what we have to show. This is exactly that kind of attitude that we need if we want to be successful in the end this season.
The noise, the weather, the tackles, it was like football from 30 years ago. What was it like with the atmosphere? You've not been here with the crowd before.
Yeah, I think it was beautiful. It was great to enjoy it, obviously because I won the game, but great atmosphere. Also, we are really thankful for our fans that the way that they push us, that they keep trusting in us during the game, even when we concede goals. Unbelievable.
For you personally, after such a long layoff, is it this sort of fixture, this noise, this atmosphere that kept you working through those days?
Definitely, yes. I said to one of the physios before the game, it sounds a little bit cheesy and what have you, but you know, I dreamt of these moments in the 2 years of hell that I had. So, but it's behind me now anyway. I like to leave that in the past.
Nosotros somos evidentemente la cantidad de goles que hemos recibido.
Evidently, the amount of goals we've conceded
indica que yo no he logrado solidez para evitar peligro en nuestro arco.
Indicates that I haven't managed to get solidity to avoid danger in our own goal.
I mean, it was a bit of a throwback, wasn't it, Dion, really, with all the water and tackles flying in and this, there, that. Feels like for a few different reasons, that's a big result for Manchester United.
Yeah, it was a great game, and I think that's why we all want clubs like Leeds United back in the Premier League, because of the atmosphere and because of that kind of game that they create, that rivalry. Man United just had the edge on this occasion, and it was properly blood and thunder.
There's quite a lot to dig into in this game. Given Manchester United's record when it comes to attacking corners this season, Leeds will be fuming how they conceded the first goal.
This is the first one they've scored this season, and Leeds have conceded 12. I mean, if you look at Llorente's position, Ian, he looks at the ball at the last second, and basically Harry Maguire bullies him. If you look, he's not even looking at the ball, he's only fixated on the man. That's not how you mark. You have to go ball and man. You have to be looking at both. But even Meliele, he makes it too easy as well. He comes and he's in the middle of... He's in no man's land. He's in no man's land. If he stays on his line as well, he just catches it. And then you look as well at the back post. Pogba's shirt getting pulled. If Maguire doesn't get it, it's a pen. It's a pen all day long, especially if they go back on VAR and have a look at it. But that's not how you mark in the box. It isn't. Dion, you'd have put me to the net with the ball.
Yeah, but just to explain that then, because, you know, as the most recent centre-half in this studio...
Dion
sorry, Dion. As the most recent centre-half, and also as a coach and a manager now, is that a very modern thing? It feels to me as an amateur that's a very modern thing of players focusing consistently on the man,
but
and not the ball.
That isn't the right way to do it. You have to be... So if the ball's coming from Dion's direction, you have to be man, ball, and constantly looking. You have to be checking where your man is at the end of the day, and there's only one ball. Go and head it.
Whereas most now are just straight
on the man. It's poor defending. It's in my view, it's lazy defending.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Leeds Manchester United games, since Leeds have been back in the Premier League, have had a really interesting tactical battles in them, and there was another one today where Manchester United got the edge.
They got the edge because I think they figured out how to break the press, set up for the press again, Leeds, and the two centre-halves, Manchester United today, figured out that there was always going to be a bit of an area where they can run into, and they used it all day, Woody, didn't they?
Lindelof was absolutely brilliant at it. If you look at this is the goal, it's because the centre-forward isn't going to chase him all the way back. And once the centre-half goes, someone has got to come and press him. He breaks out, and this is how they score. But it was brilliant. Lindelof done it all afternoon. He really did. Look again. Rodrigo's chasing. Does the centre-forward want to chase him? Plays a lovely ball in, and they should score again. Dion, can you imagine you are Alan Shearer wanting to track back that centre-half?
No, thank you. No, thank you. I'd rather let the centre-half go.
Lindelof did it, or he could have kept on going there.
And by him going, someone else has to come out to him, which then creates space.
And then there's space for that man. So that's how they're breaking it down. Leeds always go one centre-forward against two centre-halves. So if you can get the other centre-half free, he can break through. So they're brilliant at it.
So you can't do that against every team?
Not every team, because not every team presses the same way, like a Man United or a a Liverpool or a Man City. They're playing in different ways.
You've played in these games. Are you surprised, given this was the first one with the fans back at Ellen Road for Leeds Manchester United, that it took Leeds until the second half to really kind of get going?
That's what I was thinking. I went to the game and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, are the Leeds players going to put a tackle in? But I tell you what they did. When they came out in that second half, they didn't half. And if you look here, look at the passion and what they want to do. They're getting close to people. They're creating chances. I mean, he's another one of the tackles by Firpo.
And that gets the crowd going.
It was the condition. They were brilliant for it. It really was. And it was getting the fans on their edge of the seat.
And a bit of luck.
And a bit of luck. But we all need that, don't we? We all need that.
You absolutely love this one.
And look at Stewie Dallas's tackle. Look at the fans. Look at the fans. It's maggot.
You were out your seat watching this. You were out your seat saying that's what you wanted your team to do.
Forshaw again. In. This is what the Leeds fans want to see.
So, why? You're not likely to know, are you? Why didn't they do this in the first half?
I just think Pogba was really dictating the game. I thought Forshaw at times found it hard to play against Pogba. But when Forshaw went back to being the number 6, he was the best player on the pitch. If you see some of his interceptions and some of his tackles here, Firpo again. But look, they're breaking at pace now.
They all know what to do and how to do it. It's just doing it for 90 minutes, 95 minutes. It is tough because they do it at pace as well.
Yeah, they do it at pace. Everything about Leeds' game is being relentless, and they cover some ground. I just thought I got caught up with them in the second half when Man United made a double substitution. Leeds had already used theirs, and that's when they started becoming a bit fatigued.
Man of the match was given to Jadon Sancho at this game, who is slowly but surely edging himself into form and starting to look comfortable at Manchester United. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think we're just starting to see what we want to see, you know, of a player like this, and the positions he's getting himself into, like this position here, whether it's left going in or on the right-hand side coming in, we want to see him doing this. We want to see him attacking a defender or 2 defenders. This here, he's sprinting onto that ball, and then he takes a bit of pace off it and just leaves it in an area for one of his teammates. Gets into an area that I think he should take that first time, but he decides to take 2. That's something he can work on with his game. When to take it first time, when to take a touch. Again, staying out the way, leaving himself space to come into, and this is where he wants to be. Man on man, lovely little weighted pass for Fred, and Fred puts it in the near post. He gets a little bit lucky here, but you can see what he wants to do. He wants to be positive. He's on the touchline. He wants to be close to the touchline. That's where he's most comfortable.
But if you run at players like that, you will get luck from time to time. No, you make your own.
And Jonathan will tell you this. They should really score there. Elanga should really score. Jonathan, when a defender's running at you at pace, you think, oh no.
It's difficult to deal with, and he can do it all day long. Like we saw when he was at Dortmund, he was exceptional. You need a little bit of time to settle in, and you need a manager to really, really believe in you and what you can do. He's started to play a lot of games now for United, and he's showing how good he is.
You'd give most players a year to settle in at a new club, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Especially coming over back from Germany, from where he's been. Yeah. You need that time. And at Man United at the minute, let's be honest, it hasn't been great, has it? So he's going into that environment. I tell you what, it'd be an unbelievable player for Liverpool, him.
Right.
Let me tell you that now. Unbelievable player. He'd fit into their system, no problem.
You're losing friends.
On your first show, you were doing quite well then, and I think you probably...
I thought you were Man City, chap.
Oh, God, this is turning into a worse debut for you than Real Madrid. Blimey.
Can't be that bad.
Right, Wolves v Leicester on the way after January's goal of the month.
The manager, made a really brave decision bringing Pogba off. We thought at the time he was probably Man United's best player, and you know, I don't think Fred was brought on to be the one who's going to go on to win the game. That was more Elanga's role, but he turned out that he did, and the two substitutions worked out perfect for him.
Indeed. Let's get some Manchester United reaction then in a moment. Bruno Fernandes, but first, here is Ralph Rangnick.
Well, Ralph, how was that for you? It was adrenaline-fueled for us to watch.
Yes, it was. I think apart from the 2 managers, everybody probably enjoyed that game. It was never boring. It was always intense. You always expected something to happen, and this is what football should be like. But as I said, for a manager, it was difficult. I think it took us 15 minutes at the beginning of the game to get control and get hold of the game. Then we started to play well, scored 2 goals. At halftime, we were fully aware that we have to be always aware, always on the front foot. And then we conceded 2 goals within 2 minutes. And that changed the whole game, obviously. The atmosphere was amazing in those 5 minutes. But we kept our head up and we showed some maturity and unity on the pitch, and that was the only way to achieve the turnaround once again.
How much of a shock to you and your team were those 2 goals? They really were out of nowhere.
Yeah, the first one was out of nowhere, yes. The second one they did well. We maybe could have defended it better, the second one, but again, within 2 minutes, all of a sudden 2-2. And we had that same experience at Aston Villa already, so that's why it was even more important to show that kind of reaction that we showed today.
It's such a different sort of atmosphere here with a full crowd in. Have you learnt something extra that you maybe didn't know about your players today, the way they came on again?
Well, I wouldn't say learned, but this is what we have to show. This is exactly that kind of attitude that we need if we want to be successful in the end this season, both in the Premier League and in the Champions League. And I think this, not only the result, but the way that we achieved it, the way that we played, could really be of help for the future as well, for Wednesday and for the upcoming games in the Premier League.
And you say about for managers, it's not particularly enjoyable. Why is that? Are they hard games to manage?
No, because of the chronology of the game. I mean, obviously, you ask yourself as well, quite like the players, why all of a sudden 2-2? We were in full control of the game, and but against a team like Leeds, who are very direct, very aggressive, very much a team that also plays 1-2 with their own supporters, this can happen in football. And as I said, the reaction today was amazing, and I'm proud of the boys, what they did after we conceded the 2 goals.
Harry Maguire celebrated his goal, and he's had a tough week with people questioning his captaincy. His first Premier League goal of the season, he enjoyed it.
Honestly, I think people question everything at this club. Every week we have a news history about something. I posted a photo on Instagram that I was with Rafa and Eric, and I said I feel really secure in the middle of these 2. Meaning that security, like if they are like my bodyguard, and people was complaining like, oh, he's throwing something at Maguire or whatever. But Maguire is not the only defender that was not in the photo. Lindelof was not in the photo. Phil Jones was not in the photo. So people want to complain, want to make histories around us. But the most important is that we stick together and we do our jobs in the pitch. Obviously, everyone is really happy for Rage because it's really tough being in his place in the last period. Obviously, we all have bad games, and when we don't win, it's not because Age is not playing well or because Bruno is not playing well. It's because the team is not playing well. It's not performing in the right way. So for us, inside of the dressing room, is not blame someone, but understand how we can come out of that bad situations.
How important was it to get the win today after Arsenal and Spurs won yesterday?
Oh, we are looking forward. We want to catch the ones that are in front of us. Obviously, we have to be worried about who comes to behind us, but our goal is to go always forward, and always forward is to look to the 3rd place and try to catch Chelsea. I know they are far, but nothing is impossible. When I arrived here at the club 2.5 years ago, was 12 points behind the 3rd place, and we did it. So why not?
Well, he's positive. He's also alluding to the fact that anything you do as a Manchester United player is a story. You know that. You spent your whole life there. But at the moment, it just seems to be more headlines concerning his team. That's what he's saying. There's a story every week.
Well, he's at Manchester United. He's at the biggest club in the world, probably. So that is going to happen. They're in a spell where the club haven't won anything for, what is it now, 7-8 years. So there is always going to be criticism unless what happens on the pitch is going well. At the minute, 4th for them, out of the FA Cup, still in the Champions League, but everything around it is not quite right at the minute. I think today was a little bit of a breather from him, from getting a little bit of stick, I suppose. And I was pleased for him. I was pleased for the manager today. I think he made a really big decision, a big brave decision to bring Paul off, and it worked for him. And looking at his interview there, it looked like he was really pleased with the team for probably the first time since he's been here. More of what he wanted to see from his team, and I think he's really warming to it. We saw his reaction as well with the fans afterwards. A little bit of the Jurgen Klopp's about that. Go up to the fans and and waving his arms about, and the fans will love that. The fans will really like that. But still, to get that 4th place, there's still a lot of work to do. I know Bruno's talking about catching Chelsea. Who knows if they go on a great run? They've got the players, they've got the quality to do it. Are they prepared to work hard enough going back the other way to get them results? I'm not too sure, but look, I think they'll finish 4th. I've always thought they'll finish 4th. I think that's where they are at this present time. And we're strengthening, there we go, we're strengthening the summer, new manager, or, as you see him now, so if United have a good end to the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he was interested in taking it further.
If he was interested, what about the club being interested?
Well, I don't know. It happened once with Ollie, didn't it, I suppose? Will they see that as a mistake that they probably won't make again? I don't know, but he's the one, if he's the one advising for the new manager, maybe he'll advise the club to employ him. Very, very optimistic. I can't see that happening now.
I'd be really, really surprised if that was the case. But then you've got to look around and see what's available.
But is that?
I'm pretty sure they're looking, or if they're not, they should be. But I go back to what we were talking about before, and it has been a chaotic football club that has been light years away from what they used to have. But no, just because they've won one game today and they were impressive in terms of their attitude and what they did and how they fought back from being 2-0 up and then Leeds getting it back and then showing a great attitude to go and win the game. Yes, that's a huge. That was a huge positive.
Is that his best day yet, Ralph Rangnick? Because he said earlier on, didn't he, to us that 2 or 3 months ago they wouldn't have won that game.
I think it is, yeah, because he was aware of what this game means to the fans, to both sets of fans. He's aware of what's been said, I'm sure, in outside of the football club. And
he was aware they hadn't scored since last April from a corner, so
he's well aware of. Yeah, as a manager, despite you say, well, I don't read the newspapers or I don't listen to other. They do, of course, they do. They absolutely do. But there's a long way to go for that football club to get anywhere near where they want to be and where they feel as if they should be. This result will help them in terms of confidence and going forward. They've got a chance of finishing 4th, absolutely. But I don't go away from the fact that it can be anything from 4th to 7th because I think that's how they are at this moment in time.
Do you feel for the first time since Ralph Rangnick arrived that there's a step forward today? Because you even felt at the start of the show there was a step backwards even from the Solskjaer days.
Yeah, I'd say a slight step. I wouldn't be going crazy over beating Leeds. They beat Leeds 6 at the start of the season. Leeds are missing 2 vital players, in Phillips and Patrick Bamford. Defensively, they weren't great. I just got a feeling from his interview there that he was warming to it, his interaction with the fans. We haven't really seen that before. And he'll be looking now for a strong end to the season. Do you know, points-wise, it's not been bad. I think it's more performance-wise that has been worrying. Scoring goals has been a problem. I think they've created a load of chances in the last few games. Inconsistent, yes, of course. Leeds were almost a perfect opponent for them. They conceded the second most goals in the league. Always give you chances, and United today took them. It's now about what they're going to do in them last, 12 games they've got left? It's a big 12 games for them. They have to get into that Champions League. Can they go further in the Champions League? I think they can do. Atletico are having a bit of a sorry time themselves, really. Very much similar line to Manchester United season. So, look, it's a big end to the season for them. They've got to have more performances like they did today, and they'll have a chance of getting into that top four position.
It'll be a different conversation at the end of March.
Yeah, that's it. And you look at the next 6 games, then we'll find out where they are as a team, as a squad. I don't feel they'll have enough to go and get to a final of the Champions League. They've got enough to finish 4th, absolutely. It'll be tough because when you look at the teams in and around them, the games in hand that they've got, I'm still not convinced about the squad that they have and some of the players that they've got in the team. That's why I don't think they'll get anywhere near the final of the Champions League.
One of the players that he was asked about there, Harry Maguire, he scored the goal. But this week's headline or leak or whatever you want to call it, has been about the captaincy. That Ralph Rangnick had to come out and say he will be captain until the end of the season. Is that important? Is that even a story for you at a moment of discussion at the moment with United fans?
I don't think so. I don't think it would be a topic if Cristiano wasn't there.
Really?
I think people have made a little bit too much of that. And you have to say, Maguire, is he a real captain? I've never really seen that real captain awareness about him, really. Does he demand enough from the players around him? Does he demand enough from his team? I don't think he does. It's normally inspired by performance.
Who does in that squad, though? That's the problem.
There isn't many. Yeah, which is a problem. So he has to give it to, and it's normally a centre-half, big centre-half who gets it. But his form has been...
Unless you're the Premier League's all-time record goal scorer and then you get the armband for
Well, yeah, that's a totally different case, isn't it? But look, he's had a bad year as well. I know a lot was spoken about.
So is there a case for potentially relieving him of the armband to help him concentrate on his own
You'd have to say there was a case for him not being in the team, really. Over these last 3 or 4 weeks especially, he's given some goals away and hasn't looked anywhere near his best after the Euros with people like Varane and Lindelof knocking about. But the manager has obviously seen something in him. I don't know him. We don't see him around the training ground. He might be a good captain. He might be a good leader around the training ground. And it's obvious that the manager thinks so. So, look, he's going to go with him.
Does it matter? What would you do?
I think it would have created more problems.
Taking it off him?
Taking it off him. There would have been more questions asked. There would have been the whole scenario of Ronaldo being the... I mean, he gets enough criticism when he takes Ronaldo off anyway, and he's not the captain. So can you imagine if he give it to Ronaldo and then he doesn't play him, then takes him off or whatever it is? So there's always a different scenario there. But I think it would have created more problems taking the captaincy off him than sticking with him. I think it was the right thing to do in sticking by him and trying to get the football club in the way that he wants it and getting them all gelled and rowing in the same direction. And I don't think that perhaps would have been the case if he had took it off him.
As you say, you look around the squad and the team, there isn't that many candidates, is there really? I think he's the one that's stable, the one that looks like he's going to play all the time. The question always seems to be who's going to be his partner. Right back's a position we don't really know if there's... McTominay does play a lot of the games, but again, a young player, is he really captain material? Cristiano, we know it can be captain material, but I'm not sure about centre forwards being captains. But no, seriously, Cristiano's probably not going to play every game as well, which your captain needs to be playing every game. There's a keeper, I suppose, but again, he's not a leader. He's not a character in the dressing room. He's not a leader around the training ground. And Harry Maguire is probably the most likely out of a bunch of players that don't really have that many leaders.
Yes, indeed. Leeds conceded again. We'll get to that in a moment. As you can see, goals against 50. But more importantly at the moment, 23 points, 5 above the drop zone. But they've now played the same number of games as Newcastle and Watford. Burnley have 2 games in hand on Leeds. And it is a big if, but if Burnley were to win both of those games in hand, they will go above Leeds in the table. How concerned would you...
I'd rather have the points like Leeds have.
Yeah.
I would be really concerned, with the results yesterday for Watford, for Burnley and for Newcastle. I'd be really concerned with Leeds when you look at the goals against column 50. I mean, nothing ever changes with Leeds, with the way they play and the way they are so open. I mean, they're terrible defensively. They give you...
Well, they've got worse, Alan. Let me just give you the stats, sorry to interrupt you. They've conceded 50 already this season, which, as you can see, is only 3 less than Norwich, who've actually played a game more. In the entire campaign last season, they only conceded 54.
That's the worrying thing, is that any team, whether it's Man United today or whether it's Norwich or Burnley, going in against Leeds, you know you're going to get chances. The question is, are you going to be able to take them? Because of the way they play. I mean, do
you think they should change the way they play it?
Well, there's an argument to do that, especially in the current situation, because they've had so many injuries. I mean, we just spoke about Leicester and the injuries that they've had. They've tried to do things differently, certainly from defensive set pieces. They were zonal, then they go to man marking. But with Leeds, nothing ever changes. They go to man. They go and try and press and try and play this high energy football, but they always leave themselves so open. Yes, it looks as if today they get back into the game to go 2-2 and they get carried away. And if it was a one-off, you'd say, OK, with the atmosphere, you can understand them doing that and trying to get that third against Manchester United. But that's what they do every single week. They just try and outscore the opposition, and more times than not, they can't do that. And that's why I would be really concerned and worried if I was a Leeds fan.
Where are you with Leeds?
Yeah, I'm really worried for him. Well, some of that worries for Leeds, but
no, I know what you mean.
No, I'm worried for him in the sense that I think there's a chance they'll go down. As Alan said, they almost go out onto the pitch saying we'll score more goals than you. Now that was okay last year. It was a little bit of a surprise last year because nobody was really used to it. Now, when everybody's worked it out, a lot of the teams are better than Leeds. A lot of other teams are better players than Leeds. So to do that in the Premier League is going to be very difficult. And to concede so many goals, surely you've got to change. We're talking, this manager has great plaudits around the world, and rightly so for what he's done in the game. But how can he keep sending his team out in the same way? They've conceded 50 goals. At some point, you think he's got to try and do something different. Now, they might pay the ultimate price for it. And he has been a little bit unlucky with injuries as well. Calvin Phillips is a big influence on that team. We know that. Bamford's his goals as well, who's been missing. But at some point, they've got to find a way of just getting points because they're in big trouble here. They've got Newcastle who have just started to really get going. Everton, who I think will be good enough. And then there's the other three.
And Brentford possibly as well.
Brentford will come into it as well. And Leeds, they've got to find a way of trying to get some results. And the way they're doing it now just isn't working.
Especially with what other clubs have done in terms of changes. I mean, everyone from Burnley, Norwich, Watford, Everton, Newcastle, all the clubs in and around. I know Burnley haven't, but what Burnley have done in the transfer market and bringing in a main centre forward who got up and running yesterday, but before that proved he can be a threat. So there's been changes in terms of personnel at all the clubs in and around Leeds. So that would concern me also, because when you look at Everton, yes, there's a lot of work to do. Yes, you'd be hugely disappointed, particularly with their away form and how they go down and don't have a reaction. But with Watford winning and Burnley winning, Newcastle are in very, very good form. Yeah, you'd be really concerned being a Leeds fan.
Paris Saint-Germain suffer shock defeat at Nantes. Nantes stormed into a 3-goal half-time lead and then rode their luck to win 3-1 at home on Saturday and hand runaway leaders Paris Saint-Germain their second League One loss of the season. Nantes saw little of the possession, had a player sent off only to see the red card overturned on VAR review, and then watched as Neymar squandered a penalty in a three-minute clash at the Stade de la Beaujoire. But they came away with a full haul of points in a surprise reversal for the star-studded PSG lineup. Randall Kolo Muani put Nantes ahead within 4 minutes after a storming run down the left wing by Moses Simon, and they were 2-0 up some 12 minutes later when teenager Quentin Merlin scored his first goal for his hometown club with a rasping left-footed shot. Nantes defender Denis Opier was sent off 2 minutes before the break for tripping Kylian Mbappé as he headed goalwards. But the referee was asked to review his decision by the VAR and changed it to a yellow card when replays showed the clash was not as cynical as first presumed. VAR then intervened again in stoppage time before the break when Jorginho Wijnaldum handled the ball in his own penalty box, handing Nantes a spot kick which Ludovic Blas converted for a stunning half-time lead. PSG, who started the game 13 points clear of second-place Marseille, pulled a goal back a minute into the second half as Lionel Messi set up Neymar for a clinical finish. The Brazilian, back in the starting lineup for the first time since November, then had a chance to further reduce the deficit when Opier again brought down Mbappé, but Neymar's penalty was a weak effort straight at Alban Lafont. Mbappé then produced an uncharacteristic miss from point-blank range in the final 20 minutes as PSG kept up the pressure but were unable to make use of their numerous chances. The win saw Nantes leap from 10th to 5th in the League One standings as they push for a spot in next season's European club competition.